Along the mist-choked banks of the Mekong River, there is one rule the villagers whisper to strangers. If you see a lantern floating on the water after midnight, don't follow it. She is waiting. The elders never say her name out loud after sunset, afraid that calling it will draw her attention. But the children whisper it anyway, daring each other by the firelight. Mei Lai Ngu, the serpent bride. The story begins in 1968, during a flood season so brutal the Mekong devoured entire farmlands. On the banks of Ban Sombat village, 17-year-old Chanthira prepared for her wedding. She was quiet and kind, with hair black as river silt and skin pale from years avoiding the sun. Her groom, Surasak, was the son of a wealthy merchant from Vientiane. The union promised Chanthira's family security, but Surasak's mother detested her. On the night before the wedding, she called Chanthira to the riverbank under the guise of a private blessing. There, beneath the shadows of a towering banyan tree, Surasak's family accused her of witchcraft, claiming she had cursed them into marriage. Before she could speak, hands grabbed her. A rock was tied to her waist, and without ceremony or prayer, she was thrown into the swollen Mekong. Her scream was swallowed by the river. But Chanthira did not die. As she sank deeper into the pitch-black depths, something ancient awoke beneath her. A naga, older than the river itself, coiled from the darkness, its scales black and iridescent, its glowing eyes reflecting like submerged lanterns. Its voice was not heard, but felt, vibrating in her skull. I can save you, but you will be mine. Chanthira, choking on silt and despair, nodded. The naga's coils tightened. Her lungs burned, her heartbeat slowed, and then stopped. When she opened her eyes again, she breathed easily under the water. Her legs were gone, replaced by a serpentine body covered in slick black scales. She was no longer human. She belonged to the river and to the naga's hunger. Weeks later, Surasak's body washed up along the bank, his ribs crushed, his throat marked by jagged scale imprints. 3 more men disappeared that month, their bodies found days later, bloated and pale, each with long strands of black hair tangled around their necks. The elders gathered and prayed, leaving offerings of white lotus flowers at the water's edge, but the deaths continued. By the 6th month, Ban Sombat village was abandoned. Rumors spread across provinces. On foggy nights, villagers downstream saw a woman in a vibrant hand-woven silk dress, waist-deep in the Mekong, holding a paper lantern. Sometimes she wept, sometimes she sang, always she waited. In 1997, a young fisherman named Somchai arrived at Ban Sombat to take advantage of the empty fishing grounds. The elders warned him, if you hear humming on the river, go home. If you see a floating lantern, look away. And if a woman offers you a white lotus, never take it. Somchai laughed. He didn't believe in ghosts. On his 3rd night, while casting nets under a low-hanging mist, he heard humming, soft, melodic, carrying across the dark water. Then he saw her. A woman sat on a half-submerged rock mid-river, her long black hair dripping, her silk dress clinging to pale skin. "Are you lost?" he called. She said nothing. She raised a glowing paper lantern and gestured for him to follow. Against every warning, Somchai jumped from his boat. The river swallowed him up to his chest, ice cold and silent. The humming grew louder until it sounded like hundreds of voices singing beneath the water. The closer he came, the more distorted the melody became. Soft at first, then suddenly guttural, inhuman. He reached out for the lantern. That's when he saw her lower body. Where legs should have been, a massive serpentine tail coiled beneath the surface, its black scales glimmering faintly with strange, glowing veins. The lantern's flames snapped out. Somchai's scream echoed briefly, then was cut short. At dawn, his boat drifted ashore empty. Inside, they found wet strands of hair woven into the nets, and a single fresh white lotus resting in the hull. For decades, the missing men were presumed dead, but divers who explored the Mekong in 2004 discovered something horrifying. At the bottom of a deep channel, they found an ancient stone platform carved with serpents devouring men. Embedded into the riverbed were hundreds of human bones, some fused together by hardened silt. But what chilled them most were the figures arranged around the platform, 10 drowned bodies perfectly preserved, each dressed in ceremonial wedding robes, their pale faces frozen mid-scream. At the altar, carved into stone, were the words, in Old Khmer, "The bride calls her groom." One diver refused to continue. That night, he hung himself from a mangrove tree. The other vanished entirely, his gear discovered days later on the riverbank, soaked yet bone dry inside. The villagers who remain perform a secret midnight ritual during the Festival of Hungry Ghosts each year. At exactly 2 a.m., they gather along the riverbank, holding hundreds of floating lanterns, chanting, "Rest, Chanthira, rest, bride of the water." But the elders admit she doesn't rest. Not really. Every year, one lantern drifts away from the others, glowing brighter than the rest. And every year, someone follows it. None of them are ever seen again. In 2019, 3 Bangkok University students visited Ban Sombat to film a horror documentary about Mei Lai Ngu. They set up cameras along the river, planning to live stream the ritual. At 2:03 a.m., the feed froze. For 7 minutes, it displayed nothing but murky water, illuminated by a single floating lantern. Then came the sound, a woman's lullaby, faint and wet, as if sung from beneath the surface. When the feed returned, the camera was lying on the ground, lens cracked. The students were never found. The last saved frame showed a pale reflection smiling in the water, and the faint outline of scales coiling beneath it. Survivors, the few who've escaped, describe hearing the same thing. Just before the lantern reaches them, just before the serpent tail breaks the surface, she whispers softly, "You came for me, my groom. Come below, come home." The Mekong carries more than silt and rainwater. It carries grief. It carries promises broken beneath banyan trees. And it carries Mei Lai Ngu waiting patiently for another groom. Stand on Ban Sombat's riverbank on a moonless night and you'll hear it. The faint humming of a lullaby, the flicker of a paper lantern on black water, and the soft ripple of scales breaking the surface. Do not follow the light. Do not take the lotus. Do not look for the bride, because she is already looking for you. In a remote corner of northern Laos, deep within the misty mountains where bamboo forests swallow entire villages, stands the That Kam Temple, known to locals as the Weeping Pagoda. The temple is sealed now. No monks remain, no worshippers come. The jungle is reclaiming it, strangling its golden spires, cracking its stone lions, drowning its steps in vines. Yet if you stand outside its locked gates at 3 a.m., you will hear them, the bells ringing on their own. The legend began over 2 centuries ago when That Kam was one of the most sacred Buddhist temples along the old Luang Namtha Yunnan trade route. Pilgrims would travel for weeks to pray beneath its 7-tiered pagoda, where it was said a relic of the Enlightened One was buried. But history records a tragedy. During the Burmese-Siamese Wars of the 18th century, a rogue militia raided the temple. In their greed, they desecrated the relic chamber, stealing gold statues and burning sacred sutras. When they reached the main altar, the head monk begged them to leave the relic untouched. The militia laughed and slaughtered every monk inside. That night, the villagers say, the bells began ringing, not in mourning, but in warning. By dawn, the raiders were all dead. Their bodies were found around the pagoda, their faces frozen in silent screams, their mouths stuffed with damp lotus petals. After the massacre, the temple was abandoned. But one young novice, Phra Kamlek, refused to leave. For 50 years, he lived alone inside that com, tending the altars, chanting sutras, and sweeping the fallen petals from the pagoda stairs. Villagers claimed his chants could be heard miles away at dusk. Then one morning, he was gone. In his place, they found a single saffron robe, folded neatly before the locked relic chamber. The bells above the pagoda rang violently that night, though no wind blew. Some villagers say Phra Kamlek became a guardian spirit. Others say he became part of the curse. In 2003, 4 anthropology students from Vientiane University, Dara, Somphon, Vieng, and Nalin, traveled to that calm temple for their thesis on abandoned spiritual sites. The locals begged them not to go, but students are stubborn, and curiosity is louder than fear. They arrived by longboat, hiked 2 hours through tangled bamboo, and reached the pagoda by dusk. Vines crawled up its golden tiers, roots had burst through the stone, and the carved lions at the gate were broken, their faces worn smooth by time. Creepy, Nalin whispered, filming with her camcorder. Beautiful, Dara corrected. By nightfall, they had pitched tents near the pagoda steps, but none of them slept, because the bells rang, slowly, softly, like a heartbeat. At 3:13 a.m., Vieng woke, gasping for breath. He'd dreamt of standing before the locked relic chamber, where hundreds of monks knelt in rows, heads bowed, chanting. The sound was deafening, yet none of their mouths moved. At the end of the hall, a single bell hung upside down from the ceiling, dripping water. From its hollow came a woman's voice whispering, "Feed us." When Vieng woke, he found his hands clenched around something cold. It was a damp lotus petal, fresh. On the second night, Dara found an old stone inscription carved into the pagoda's base, hidden beneath moss and vines. 72 steps, 72 chants. Turn not your head, for those who kneel behind you are not among the living. Scholars later confirmed this referred to a forbidden ritual, performed once every 100 years, meant to bind restless spirits to the pagoda, trapping them inside so they could not roam. The students laughed nervously, dismissing it as folklore. But that night, Nalin disappeared. At dawn, her tent was empty. The ground outside was covered in wet footprints. Small, bare, as though belonging to children. The footprints led up the 72 steps of the pagoda and stopped at the locked relic chamber. They called her name until their voices broke. They searched the forest until sunset. By midnight, the bells began ringing again, and through the fog, they saw her. Nalin standing at the top of the pagoda, hair loose, eyes blank, swaying slightly. Vieng ran toward her, but Dara grabbed his arm. "Look at her feet," Dara whispered. Nalin's feet didn't touch the ground. Desperate, Dara pried open the relic chamber using a crowbar from their jeep. Inside, the air was thick with incense and rot. Candles lined the walls, burned down to wax puddles long since hardened. And kneeling in neat, perfect rows were dozens of mummified monks, their skin stretched thin, their empty sockets facing the altar. At the far wall, a giant bronze bell hung from rusted chains. Water dripped steadily from its rim, splashing onto the stone floor, and beneath it, a carved inscription read, "When the bell tolls, the dead will pray." As if on cue, the bell began to ring. The monks moved. Their heads lifted one by one, with the sound of creaking joints and snapping sinews. The air filled with a deep, vibrating chant that shook the chamber. The students screamed and fled, but Nalin stood frozen in the doorway. Slowly she turned her head, smiling faintly. Her lips cracked, her teeth blackened with rot. "It's time," she whispered. "They've been waiting." Her voice wasn't hers anymore. It was hundreds of voices, layered and broken. The monks crawled forward, dragging their shriveled bodies toward the students, lotus petals spilling from their open mouths. Dara's camcorder was recovered 6 months later, discovered by hikers deep in the jungle. The final footage shows Dara running through the bamboo forest, gasping for breath, screaming Vieng's name. Behind her, the bells thunder louder and louder, shaking the earth. She turns the camera one last time toward the pagoda. In the mist, hundreds of figures kneel on the steps. Monks, raiders, villagers, strangers, all swaying in unison as the bells toll endlessly. In the center, Nalin stands barefoot, holding the bronze bell's clapper in her hand, smiling wide. Then the screen goes black. The audio continues for 72 tolls. Exactly. Today, the Lao government has sealed that calm temple, warning travelers away. But locals know better. Every Hungry Ghost festival, the bells ring again. Hikers who pass near the valley report hearing chanting in dozens of voices, overlapping, suffocating, impossible to breathe through. And some nights, deep in the jungle, people swear they see faint lantern lights moving up the pagoda's 72 steps. One by one, though no one dares follow, because the ritual is never finished, and the bells never stop.
Subscribe.